Okay, greetings, brothers and videos. Greeting, brothers and sisters. That was a weird mistake. I don't know what that was about. But anyways, this is kind of a special video in a way because I have two videos already up. Today's Monday, July 28th. So this video wouldn't have been up till Wednesday. But I have some healthcare stuff, a dental thing, I want to share with people because it's time sensitive. And I'm going to give a partial story here in the beginning and a little more in a second. The other thing is Trump just lost it in Europe. Like, he just imploded. He went, full dumb fuck. I mean, it's really bad, So I got those clips, and it covers a whole array of stupidity with Trump. Obvious stupidity. And so it's 6 o'clock at night. I'm going to try to get this video up, make a shorter video, and just cover those clips and tell my story. So I have a abscess in my right front tooth, which, I've talked about this a little bit before. It's kind of a weird abscess, and my money-grubbing dentist wanted to go full root canal. I texted my wife, and she was like, nope. Like, we both have a lot of misgivings about root canal. My wife knows more about it, and my ex knew about it too, like root canals. And again, I'm not offering medical advice. There's a lot of different points of view out there, but for me, what I understand about root canals is that the bacteria, they don't get all the bacteria, and it gets shoved up into your bloodstream. Can get shoved up in your bloodstream, and people get cancer and or heart problems because of the bacteria and the infection. And this is a complicated case anyway, which I'll tell the whole story at the end of the video, like I said, and also in the Journey series. And so, I'm looking at my options, and if anybody has experience with this, alternative medicine, other ways to deal with a infection that's kind of between the two teeth, which is weird. That's part of the complexities. You could leave comments or send me links, to my Facebook or Instagram account, or, you can email me or something. I have there's a problem with my dentist, which I'll get into when I tell the whole story. I'm going to help tell my whole thing about dentistry. And, it's been a fucking, a big deal. Like I said, I'll put that at the end of the video. But I have, my wife had found a possibly a better dentist. And that's kind of convenient. And I had already made up a backup appointment that's going to be on Thursday. So I had one today on Monday, and then I was going to see this other dentist on Thursday. And so this is a kind of thing where I have to have a plan by that time. Again, I'll tell the rest of the story at the end of the video. And so let's get into the Trump stuff here. So Trump has gone full dumb fuck in Scotland, in Europe. I want to share this golf thing first. It's not the most important thing, but it's the funniest thing. But it's going to probably be pretty hilarious. I'm a little bit punchy. It's late at night, trying to get this video done for tomorrow. So, like I said, I'm bypassing other videos so that, I can get this thing up about my tooth. And so, I have two videos I've already made that are up on YouTube. But he's just gone full dumb fuck and said incredibly stupid things. Incriminating things, provoking things, just clueless things just across the board. But first he did this. So he's going golfing here. Let me turn the sound off. So he's going golfing here, and his caddy's going to chuck the golf ball right here. See? Watch this caddy right here. He's going to throw a golf ball very, very, see, boom, right? He's tossing the golf ball. Maybe it's the other caddy. Let's see which one it is here. So he throws the golf ball right here, this guy. There's the golf ball right fucking here. And Trump's going to come up and play that ball, which is totally cheating, right? So there it goes, Trump to play that ball. So this guy's walking by being slick. So he throws a golf ball in a way that you can't see. Boom, just drops it there. Now somebody just happened to catch this, and with Trump here in the window. So Trump's a fucking cheater at golf. Remember he had that big fucking debate with Joe Biden. Not going to get into all that. But he gets caught cheating, which is a bad thing. Because, cheating at golf is a whole thing. And Trump, it's a big thing with him. He's at his own country club. He says he wins all these tournaments. And he cheats at fucking golf, right? And then when he walks up and says, oh, hey, there's my ball. And that's not where your ball is, bro, because wherever it was, like this guy, and he's like, right here? And he chucks it right there. Like, and he does, it's clearly cheating because, you know, if he's going to drop the ball, he'd do it over there. He has to drop his own ball. And, like, you know, and so he'll make up some bullshit story about it. But he's, you know, this is like not a great place for the ball to be, but it's better than in the rough over here or somewhere else. Or maybe, you know, it's over here, you know, on the other side of the boundary or something where you'd have to drop it and lose some strokes. And so so that's the first piece. Okay, so then Trump went on this dumb fuckathon, and I don't know which is the worst thing he said. Let's start here at Epstein Island.
President Trump says he never visited Jeffrey Epstein's private island. Listen.
I never had the privilege of going to his island.
I never had the privilege to go to his island. Now, what a horrible thing to say. He could say he's being sarcastic, but it doesn't sound like that. And so that's completely fucked.
I never had the privilege of going to his island, and I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his island. In one of my very good moments, I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island.
Okay, so that makes no sense at all, right? So he knew Jeffrey Epstein for 20 years, right? He knew him for 20 years, and he said he's a terrific guy, and they hung out, and they, you know, there's all these pictures, a couple of videos of him. Trump invited him to his wedding. He called Jeffrey Epstein, you know, the best or whatever it is he said in that one. I mean, he wrote all these things he said to him. And if he didn't know Jeffrey Epstein was a pedo, then why not go to a private island with him? They party together all the time. And so, you know, he's making it sound like he didn't think Jeffrey Epstein was a good guy, and yet he let Jeffrey Epstein recruit girls in his at his place of work, and he also he tells everybody why he broke ties with them, and it's not the reason that he's been saying and his followers have been saying. It's a completely bogus reason, which we'll get into because that's one of the fucking stupid shit things he said, right? And so, I mean, this is astounding what he just said here, because, you know, he's
I never had the privilege of going to his island, and I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his island. In one of my very good moments, I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island.
Okay, why not? Like, why wouldn't you go unless you knew he's a pedo, and he didn't invite you right before you broke off with him, because that's not why you... his breaking ties with Epstein, it turns out, had nothing to do with him being a pedo. So he knew Jeffrey Epstein better than most of these people who he serviced. Jeffrey Epstein knew that Trump was a scumbag. Jeffrey Epstein's brother said that Jeffrey Epstein asked Trump why he sleeps with so many married women, and Trump said it because it's so wrong. And the brother, Jeffrey Epstein, asked Trump that question again in front of the brother to show, you know, Trump saying that, he did. So he knew Trump was into young girls. Trump had the beauty contest. Trump has cheated on his wife, slept with porn stars, all these things. We know about him being a complete scumbag. And so in all that, Jeffrey Epstein totally would have talked to Trump about younger girls. In fact, Trump said Jeffrey Epstein likes young girls. And so is Trump saying that he still liked Jeffrey Epstein and enabled him and wanted to hang out with him? He just didn't want to go to his island because he knew it was pedo island? Then why didn't you say something to the authorities? I mean, you're supposed to be the savior to the Republican Party. Like, there's no good... Just shut your fucking mouth, moron. Like, you're fucking incriminating yourself. You know, I just made a video, which you guys haven't seen yet. It's going to be up in 2 days, where he talked about Bill Clinton being a complete moron for the way he handled the scandal with Monica Lewinsky and Paula Jones and them, right? And so you can hear that later, 2 days from now than my other video. But these old videos are surfacing, and I have seen them, but you haven't yet. So I'm like, Jesus Christ, he's saying stupid shit for years, stuff that is biting him in the ass now, right? But there's no good excuse for him to say he didn't go to Jeffrey Epstein's island, other than that he knew Jeffrey Epstein was sleeping with younger women. Because why else wouldn't he go to a private fucking tropical paradise, right? And he said other people went, but I never went. A good moment. I said, no, he only asked you one fucking time. We know he was on the Lolita Express. We know his name's all over the file. He's going to admit to it in a bit over here. I mean, just fucking stupid shit. So the other thing is, Ghislaine Maxwell is going to the Supreme Court and trying to get her case overturned because when Jeffrey Epstein made that first deal where he went to fucking camp jail, where he was let out for work release for 12 hours a day, and he only served like a year and a half, it was such a cushy deal that not only did he have immunity from all his other crimes, but everybody who was involved with him also got immunity. I mean, who gets a fucking deal like that, right? And so she's saying that she shouldn't be prosecuted because she was a part of that original deal. And the Supreme Court's put in a shitty position because they don't want to overturn this motherfucking thing. But it sounds like she has a strong case to have that overturned. And that means that no one else can be prosecuted from Jeffrey Epstein's bullshit, right? No, nobody can. And so if this stuff gets released, then Trump and all these people will get away scot-free, and it's going to drive the Trumpers crazy. And, this is all going to happen under Trump's watch. And so, that's just the beginning of what's, going on today with this thing.
Maybe it's slightly different.
Mr. President, President completely rule out.
Maybe it's slightly different.
Mr. President, President completely rule out a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell when you landed. Is that something you would ever consider, and why?
Pardon for who?
For Ghislaine Maxwell.
Well, I'm allowed to give her a pardon, but nobody's approached me with it. Nobody's asked me about it. It's in the news about that aspect of it, but right now it would be inappropriate to talk about it. So
when would it be appropriate to talk about it? Another fucking horrible thing to say. He keeps on answering this way. Is he not listening to people, or is he being set up here, or is he just so fucking gone? Like he's gone fucking Joe Biden? Because he is old as fuck, and he's definitely, from the older videos, he's not nearly as sharp as he was, right? And so there's no time to consider a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell. I'm sorry to say it the right way because I'm watching a lot of her, listening to people pronounce it. But, Ghislaine Maxwell should not get a pardon. Why would you ever fucking do that? Why would you even suggest that you might? It's just going to infuriate your base. And it's not, like she fucking was as bad or as worse than Jeffrey Epstein in many cases. And, she threatened to murder some of these girls. She threatened these girls that they'd be killed if they talked. Like she tortured these girls. All these girls are coming out and saying these horrible things about her. And, she should have been again, whatever the law, whatever the sentencing guidelines are the sentencing. I don't know if it's I still have Novocaine. The guidelines for the sentencing. I said it right that time. Whatever the guidelines are, that is the guidelines. But holy shit, why would you fucking say that, bro? Why in the fucking world would you say, it's not appropriate to do it right now? Well, then when is appropriate? Never. Fucking never. She should never get out of jail. And she can't be trusted to talk. And if you're going to do this, release the fucking files, right?
Mr. President, your opposition to offshore wind is well known in Scotland.
Wind is a disaster.
Okay, so he doesn't like wind as a power source. But anyway, so there's that. So then there was this.
That we all want.
Mr. President, you have said that you have not been briefed on the Epstein files, or your name has not appeared in the Epstein files. But doesn't the AG have to tell you if your name is...
Well, I haven't been overly interested in it. It's a hoax that's been built up way beyond...
Okay, so there's also a video I saw the Young Turks put out about him being illiterate. And it showed him being interviewed by Pat Buchanan in a very old interview where he's much younger. And they're asking him about books he read. He clearly doesn't read any books. He said he's going to read his book again. But he has dyslexia. I have dyslexia and I can read fine. But, it's It's different for a dyslexic, but he doesn't like to read. So that means he doesn't read his briefings. Then they had a bit with Pete Davidson, and Pete Davidson is talking about how Trump didn't like to read, and it was like a known thing because he had been on Saturday Night Live a couple of times. And they were doing this, the walkthrough of the show, and he said, he wants to improvise because he doesn't like to read his lines. And he said that there was a line where him and his daughter go to Disney World, and there was some kind of thing where he said something like, let me just check the line here.
He's at Disneyland with his daughter, and the line is, all right, let's get out of here. Turkey legs? Let's go get turkey legs? And he doesn't know how to read. So he went, all right, let's get out of here, turkey legs. He called his daughter turkey legs.
So and this is, there's that guy who, he was a talent handler, this guy. He would take new talent in at the Celebrity Apprentice, and he worked for Trump at the Mean Miss Teen USA and these things. This guy said that Trump's on drugs. I mean, I talked about this guy a month or two ago. I don't know how credible he is, but he says that Trump can't read. And if they would give him a line in The Apprentice that was like a triple syllable line, he would start ranting and raving and yelling at the people, the writers, and like he felt like they were trying to screw him over. Like he felt like they were trying to fucking get him, right? Because he doesn't read. And if you're a president, you have to read all these briefings, or at least have them read it to you. I showed that clip before where he says about being the boring thing, right? About how bored he is all the time. How that reporter left the intelligence briefing because it was so boring. Because Trump is bored, right? He's not a curious person. But let's go back to the other thing here.
Not somebody that I don't think most people have ever heard of. He found it very boring and he left early. He got off the line very early. So to break into a system. Now in this case, it wasn't that this attack was going on and nobody found out anything. And again, the person that was on, as I understand it, he left very early because he didn't find it very exciting.
So this was about Signalgate, and this gave you a clue to what goes on inside Trump, which I was aware of, but this just made it so obvious. Because the guy, I forget the guy's name, because like Trump said, nobody knew who he was. His big moment was he got included in a chat. Imagine if you got included in a chat where they're about to drop bombs on fucking Yemen, and you're a liberal reporter that, hates Trump, and people said this guy's a, Mossad agent, whatever, that he was included that reason, but whatever it is. But like, this is your moment where you're going to have fucking, Trump is just, and his DeBozo fucking team has just allowed you to see classified information. It's a major fuck up. And the guy in his magazine had a week-long run where they were center of attention. It's the biggest moment in his career. And Trump says he got bored and left, right? Because Trump gets bored. Trump is bored by governing. I've said it over and over again. It's very clear. And so this is, this is all you need to know what goes on inside of Trump. He thinks anything to do with policy and these things is boring and doesn't want to know about it, which makes him a completely ineffective leader and kind of a shitty person and a very uncurious person, and certainly not a truther or somebody seeking the truth. So the third bit they showed was there's a guy who gives Trump a letter. He wants Trump to read the letter out loud. And Trump gets the letter. He looks at the letter, and he clearly doesn't read it. And he says, well, where's the signature? He goes, well, that's a great signature. He holds up the signature, and he's like, hands the letter back to the guy. And he clearly, he doesn't like to read, and he doesn't like to listen. But Trump is good at criminal shit. And so he knows to ask what his exposure is. And certainly now he knows that this Epstein thing is a fucking nightmare. And so if he is telling the truth here and he thinks it's a hoax and he's not interested in it, then all of his people must be saying to him, we got to get out in front of this. You're saying shit that isn't true, and you're pissing off your supporters, and you don't have a realistic grasp of this, and it could backfire on you. And, there's a report out there that he was told he's on the list, and that his name's mentioned multiple times, and Pam Bondi told him that. And so that report really hasn't been disputed. He's not suing the Washington, the whatever it is, that paper, Wall Street Journal. He's not suing the Wall Street Journal over it. So, that's there, and everyone knows that pretty much, but his most dumb fuck supporters who are just making excuses. So he's lying about this, right? He has to know what's on the report and what's in the report and how it could affect him, or he's just, a complete asshole, and he's unwilling to deal with this crisis, right? And it's a real fucking crisis.
If your name is...
Well, I haven't been overly interested in it. It's a hoax that's been built up way beyond proportion. I can say this, those files were run by the worst scum on earth. They were run by Comey, they were run by Garland, they were run by Biden and all of the people that actually ran the government, including the AutoPen.
Okay, so we all know that's a complete lie. He was run by the AutoPen. Like, he's just so fucking stupid. Like, somebody should get to the guy and slap him and say, "What the fuck, bro?" Right? He's one of his employees and say, "Wake up, dude. You're killing yourself here." And so Epstein was busted in 2007, and he got a cushy deal by a man who, Acosta, who became Trump's Secretary of Housing, HUD, right? And so that guy basically said that he was pressured into giving Epstein a cushy deal, meaning that the intelligence community came to him. There's these various movies. One of them is that drug dealer. Tom Cruise plays the guy, and Barry Seal. And he's running drugs for the CIA. And he gets busted. He said, "You're going to get a phone call in about 2 minutes, and they're going to tell you to release me." And guys are all laughing, and the phone rings, and they're like, "Hey, you're good to go." And there's another movie that had it in there, right? And that was Jeffrey Epstein, where, he had powerful people that called Acosta and said, "Yeah, bury this thing and make sure that there's no way to look into this thing in the future." Like, this has CIA and shit written all over it, right? And so, and Mossad, right? So even worse, it's a foreign, And so, for Trump to say, I lost my train of thought here.
And all of the people that actually ran the government, including the AutoPen.
Yeah, so that happened in 2007. And he was done in jail about 2009. And then, I don't know whether it was 2015 or 16. It was during the Trump administration that this came back around, 2017 and 18, because he hung himself in 2018. So there was no federal involvement to the Epstein files, right? Epstein got busted. They gave him a cushy deal, and then it went away until this report was posted in the Miami Herald, and it came back around during Trump's presidency, in which he died, and Trump's people were running all that shit then, right? And they weren't running against Trump. At least all of us, no one of us thought that. And the people who were concerned about it were right-wing Trumpers and truth community people and some Democratic liberal truthers, not mainstream media people. And then he's going to go on a rant about this thing.
Those files were run for 4 years by those people. If they had anything, I assume they would have released it. The whole thing is a hoax. They ran the files. I was running against somebody that ran the files. If they had something, they would have released. Now, they can easily put something in the file.
Wait, so let's go back, because I want to get to that point separately. Like, this is where a dumb fuck is trying to make excuses why he won't release the files, because it's a hoax. But then he says, it's a hoax that was run against me, which nobody thought about it till he started to say it, right? When he was asked about this, he immediately became defensive. And so most of his people would have thought he was covering up for other people. But the way he started talking and everything he said since then, it makes it sound like he's covering up for himself, right? So that's the first piece. So like, he's a dumb fuck. Like, he's going on a dumb fuckathon here. And he's already said these things, but doubling, tripling down, and he's saying it in a way that's just really fucking stupid, right? And so he's trying to make a case for not releasing the files because they're a hoax. But if his name isn't in it and they can't get him, then why not release the fucking files? Just fucking release them, right? What difference does it make? Either you've been told you can't, or your name is in it, which certainly it is, or both, right? And so he's talking his way into fucking just pissing off all of his so-called loyal followers.
Something they would have released. Now, they can easily put something in the files that's a phony. Like, as an example, Christopher Steele, a person you know well, happens to be from your country. But Christopher Steele, as an example, wrote a book, a dossier. We call it the fake news dossier. And the whole thing was a fake.
Okay, yeah, but so you're saying this thing's a fake and your name's in it. So just release it, because you're just basically saying your name's in it, and there's things in there about you. So you might as well, you're already telling us that's the case, right? The whole thing was a fake. You're comparing it to something that was about you. You're saying this was about you, and that they put things in you about you that's fake. So, you're fucked. Because now you're leaving up to people's imagination, and all this information's coming out, incriminating shit from your past, shit to do with you and Jeffrey Epstein, and you're on this dumb fuckathon, and you're just pissing off all the people who were loyal to you, voted to you, donated to you, and thought you were promising them that you were going to release this thing because it was something that was going to get the Democrats and the deep state. And now it finds out that it's all about you. And you're fucked because you and Jeffrey Epstein were besties.
The whole thing was a fake. They can put things in the file that are fake. But
like my name multiple times and pictures of me multiple times and all kinds of incriminating shit multiple times.
those files were run by bad, sick people. If they had anything, why didn't they use it when I was killing Joe and then he gave out because he was 25 points down? And then
he gave out because he was senile and they made him give out. Like, that didn't happen. Again, the Trumpers, Trump had this thing where he would say, it's fake news, they're out to get me. And the Trumpers would just put on their blinders and believe, because news media sucks and they are fake and they are liars. But he had this thing, he said, that's fake news. And anything that was said about him, he'd say was fake news. But the people who weren't blinded by Trump and a Trump supporter knew the guy was bullshitting and lying all the time. Even though the news is fake, a lot of it about him was real. And now they're getting a dose of this where they believe whatever they believe about the Epstein files. And Trump is saying they're crazy conspiracy theorists. That's one of the videos I don't think I put up yet, but he's already called them that, right? He's already said this stuff. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't believe in conspiracy theories. So he's mocking all those people. And now they know what everyone else has felt like. When Trump turns on you, he starts lying about you and lying about what you believe. And he starts fucking trying to force his opinion on you and muscle in there and fucking, when everyone knows he's lying. And now you're getting a big dose of what all these other fucking people had to deal with. Like when he said they were eating the dogs in Springfield, Ohio, when J.D. Vance was told by the mayor that wasn't true, a Republican mayor, but they ran with it anyway because Trump doesn't give a shit. He just, whatever he needs to say that's going to support his cause, he just makes up reality as he goes along and expects you to knuckle under to it.
It got somebody new. Nobody even knew anything about it. She was a horrible vice president. She was a border czar, but she never went to the border. She never once called a border patrol agent to find out how we're done, but she was the border czar.
It's when you're talking too much about shit that has nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. She had nothing to do with it, and she didn't talk about it because she wasn't supposed to, and it wasn't about you back then, and now you're fucking yourself by just talking about shit that doesn't mean anything.
Her name was Kamala. Nobody knows her last name. It was Harris. But nobody knew her last name.
Everyone knew her last name. She was fucking vice president. Everyone knew her last name was Harris because she was vice president. And they probably knew her name before that because she was fucking annoying. You think people can't remember the name Harris? What the fuck are you talking about?
Her name was Kamala. Nobody knows her last name. It was Harris. But nobody knew her last name. So I ended up, how would you like to end up in a race where you're killing somebody, you're beating him, and then they say, all right, we'll take him out. He's
There's another guy over here. There's another guy over here that's
not working. Let's put somebody else. And then she had a 6-week honeymoon. It was amazing.
It's the UK Prime Minister's over here. And, like, imagine what he thinks about this fuck. Like, he's embarrassing himself in America. Like, he talked about Clinton embarrassing himself. Just stop fucking talking. Like, he thinks he's explaining this to some foreign fucking reporter, right? Well, no one knew her last name was Harris, and how would you like this if...
They predicted she will have a 6-week honeymoon, and she did. And then she got slaughtered.
Again, irrelevant, babbling motherfucker, right?
But think of it. Those files were run by these people. They were run by my enemy.
They weren't.
If there was anything in there, they would have used them for the election. Yeah.
Do you think that drawing
Again, that's not what we all know what the file story is. It's what I told you. Everyone knows that this and his people were all promising to deliver these files and expose them. And they were like, hey, Trump, we're going to expose these files, but you're all over them. In fact, you're the center of it. We didn't know how much of a fucking Jeffrey Epstein taint licker you were. If you release these files, your candidacy's over. By the way, the CIA and the Mossad don't want you to release them either. And all these other people that you're buddies with, you can't fucking release them. And instead of coming out and saying, there's just info in there that can't be released or making some kind of excuse, he's made it that if he releases the files, he's gotten defensive about it. He's made it about himself like a complete fucking jackass, right?
I think I heard you say something the other day that the drawing that was the subject of the Wall Street Journal report.
I don't do drawings. I'm not a drawing person.
You think it was fraudulent?
I don't do drawings. Sometimes people say, would you draw a building? And I'll draw 4 lines and a little roof.
Kind of like a penis, like these skyscrapers. Little straight lines with a penis-shaped thing on top. I like drawing shit like that.
For charity stuff. But I'm not a drawing person. I don't do drawings of women.
Like that sophisticated drawing of an hourglass figured woman with a pubic hair that says Trump. I don't do shit like that.
That I can tell you. They say there's a drawing of a woman, and I don't do drawings of women.
He just draw penises. He doesn't draw women.
And also, Epstein was always a very controversial guy. I was at a very high position, pretty much all my life. In all fairness, I've been doing this for a long time. I had the top show on television. I had the #1 bestsellers. I had everything, right? And I was a very successful business guy. He was a very controversial.
Okay, so Barbara Walters takes him to task. I think I'll show you that one about his bankruptcy. We'll get to that in a moment. But he went bankruptcy big time 6 fucking times, right?
Do a controversial drawing. Now, with that being said, they say there were many letters done by many people, and in many big people, big successful people.
So first of all, he says he was too big to give Jeffrey Epstein a letter. He was too big to give another billionaire a letter for a book. But, the book is out there. And he's going to next say it's a fake letter because it's going to have his signature on it. There's a lawsuit. But then he says, but there were other big people and they all gave letters. So why wouldn't you? That's the kind of thing you would want to get in on. If you found out that all these other people were doing it, you'd want to do it too. You want to do yours bigger and better, like draw, a woman and put Trump in the pubic hair. You want yours to stand out because that's what you do. Gaudy fucking Trump Tower bullshit stuff, right? So first he says, no, I don't draw. Then he says, but other people who are very rich and famous, they drew. It was a privilege to be in that book. Even that book that I'm not in, but if I was, it'd be
But I just don't. When you talk about files, I just keep going back, and other people too. Even the enemy says this thing is.
He says he hasn't looked into it, but he knows this whole story about how all these evil people made the files about him, which means he hasn't looked into it because that isn't true. But I think he's looked into it and he's tried to. All right, I know that I'm in it, and so what's the only thing he could say if he's in it that it's a hit piece against him? And they're going to release it. Probably the next president will be releasing it, or maybe the Democrats in 2 years. Like, he probably knows it's coming out, and it's going to come out, and all the cover-up It's going to make him look guilty as fuck. And so he's trying to, his last-ditch effort to pretend that it was some hoax that was out to get him, which it's never been until now, until he made it so.
Not correct, because if we had it, we would have used it on the guy. It's a bad issue. They say it's a good issue for Trump. Do you know that my poll numbers are up 4.5 points since this ridiculous Epstein stuff? My poll numbers have gone up 4.5 points because people don't buy it. Okay, people don't buy it.
Okay, that's not true at all. Like he's, either they're lying to him. I mean, he's fucking lost it. He's so clueless. And he's doing what he's done to everybody else to piss off everybody else to his most ardent followers. And the ones who are smarter, the ones who are more curious, the ones who are more activated, the ones who are more, they have a little bit more going on self-esteem wise, and their desperation is, and these people who are big time people, like he just keeps on fucking thumbing his nose in their fucking faces. And these are people who don't get along with other people. They're Trumpers, right? They're fucking Trumpers, right? They ain't gonna fucking, take this shit. They've turned on him. Like he's going down. He doesn't even fucking know it. He's on the fucking Titanic, and he's like fucking, blowing holes in the side of the fucking boat, right?
And he's gone, and we want to focus on trade deals. I want to focus on the deal we just made with the European Union, which is the biggest trade deal in history. It's the biggest deal, I think, in history, not just trade deal. So if they would have had something, they would have used it.
And people keep writing stories about the time he threw him out of Mara Lago. Can you settle that? What was it about? What caused the breach with him?
That's such old history. Very easy.
So this is the big one. So he's talking about how he and Jeffrey Epstein had a difference in opinion on Mara Lago, right?
What was it about? What caused the breach with him?
That's such old history. Very easy to explain, but I don't want to waste your time by explaining.
No, you're not wasting our time. They don't ask questions that they don't want answers to. This is the thing people are most concerned about. It's a international scandal because he's with the British Prime Minister, and the brother to the king paid $12 million for raping a 15-year-old girl who's now dead, who's been Epsteined. So there's a story there fucking too.
But for years, I wouldn't talk to Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, let's go back just a little bit.
Very easy to explain, but I don't want to waste your time by explaining it. But for years, I wouldn't talk to Jeffrey Epstein. I wouldn't talk because he did something that was inappropriate. He hired help. And I said, don't ever do that again. He stole people that work for me. I said, don't ever do that again. He did it again. And I threw him out of the place.
Holy shit. So you hear what this motherfucker just said? So the story that Trumpers have been saying, and Trump himself and his people have been saying, that Jeffrey Epstein did something creepy. And I said, you guys have watched my videos, if he did something creepy, that means he sexually offended a minor at Mara Lago. Now, Virginia Guthrie, whatever her name is, was a girl that was supposedly recruited. Again, this whole story is whatever it is, right? But the official story is she was recruited by Jeffrey Epstein at Mara Lago. And then she then had four sexual relations with Prince Andrew, who settled a lawsuit. Now she's dead. So Trump and Mara Lago are already tied to this motherfucker in a very fucking, he's in a bad position. And so if Jeffrey Epstein abused a girl and Trump kicked him out for that, and that's what all the Trumpers brag about and they're defending Trump, he should have went to the police and he should have made sure the girl was okay, and he should have done things, as a guy who's into law enforcement, a guy who's supposed to be a fucking credible human being. If you're a counselor and you come across sexual abuse or physical abuse, you have to report it, right? You can't if a kid says they're being abused, you have to report that shit. And, Trump, he wasn't a president then, but now, he's supposed to be defending people, defending young women and these things. So it looks really bad that he kicked him out, and he's never told the story. And the story is that Jeffrey Epstein was being a creep. That's what his team has just said in the last couple of weeks. Now, Trump was around Jeffrey Epstein for 20 years, and he knows Jeffrey Epstein slept with young girls because he said he likes young girls. Trump fucking said that shit, right? So what's amazing about what he just said, first of all, he called him the help. And that's what rich people said, that he hired the help, that people that were working for Trump, Jeffrey Epstein poached from him, and Trump said, don't ever do that again. And so he did it again. And so was the help young girls that was working for Trump that like maybe were involved with Trump sexually, and Jeffrey Epstein poached those girls? I mean, that's the worst case scenario. But if it was just regular workers, good workers that Trump had, and Jeffrey Epstein hired them away from him, then Trump didn't kick him out because of the sexual abuse. So Trump had to know Jeffrey Epstein was into young girls because he said it. It's there, and he didn't end the relationship because of that. He only ended the relationship because Jeffrey Epstein stole some people from possibly his stable at Mara Lago. So Jesus Christ, Trump, could you fuck yourself any more? Like, could you just bend over and fuck yourself with a microphone any fucking more than this?
The time you threw him out of Mara Lago, can you settle that? What was it about? What caused the breach within?
That's such old history. Very easy to explain, but I don't want to waste your time by explaining it. But for years, I wouldn't talk to Jeffrey Epstein. I wouldn't talk because he did something that was inappropriate. He hired help. And I said, don't ever do that again. He stole people that worked for me. I said, don't ever do that again. He did it again. And I threw him out of the place, persona non grata. I threw him out, and that was it. I'm glad I did, if you want to know the truth.
But why didn't you do it for him being a creep? Why didn't you do it because you knew he was a pedophile? Because you knew he was a fucking pedophile. If anybody knew it was Trump. Trump is inappropriate with women all the time. It's fucking a done deal. He's fucked himself. And I don't even think his dumb fuckery could listen to these things, his dumb fucks. I mean, his most dumb fucks could listen to this thing and not, see it. Holy shit, bro. Put the fucking microphone down, motherfucker. You're strangling yourself with it.
And by the way, I never went to the island, and Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times. I never went to the island, but Larry Summers, I hear, went there. He was the head of Harvard. And many other people that are very big people. Nobody ever talks about them.
And so you were friends with them for 20 years, and you're not getting away with that shit. Maybe you didn't go to the island because you didn't like to travel, or there's nothing for you to do there other than, partake with Jeffrey Epstein. Who the fuck knows? Maybe you went, maybe you didn't, but doesn't fucking matter, bro. Like, you're in on this thing. It's about you now, bro. And you just fucked yourself.
I never had the privilege of going to his island, and I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his island. In one of my very good moments, I turned it down. I didn't want.
You turned it down, but then you knew he was a pedophile and you didn't report it, right? In one of my very good moments, I turned it down. I was weighing my options, go to his pedo island or not. But, I turned it down. I fucking didn't. I mean, it was one of my good moments. Like most times, I mean, if it was a pedo island, I'd be there. But, I was proud of myself. Like I knew there was pedo stuff going on. I wanted to go, but I didn't. So I'm proud of myself. Look, let me pat myself on the fucking back.
Want to go to his island. Yeah.
So holy shit.
This is part of the rush to get this deal done to knock Jeffrey Epstein's story out.
Oh, you got to be kidding with that. No, had nothing to do with it. Only you would think that.
Only you would think that. So the guy asked, was part of the reason you finally got a deal done. You got a deal done with Great Britain and the European Union. And I don't know if it's a favorable deal for Trump. I don't know if it's a good deal. But he got a deal. And this guy's saying you got a deal because now you're hoping that this deal will satisfy your people. But, they're not going to necessarily see anything from this deal like immediately and probably never, right? And prices are probably going to go up because you are increasing tariffs and so are some of the other countries. So this is probably going to drive prices up. I don't know. I'm not an economist. But how many of us felt like when the deal went down that, and how many of his political people, the people are in politics, will totally believe that he wants to change the conversation. That any guy in his situation wants to change the conversation. He's tried to change the conversation 4 different ways, by going after Obama and Oprah Winfrey and Beyonce. I mean, so many different ways he's brought all this shit up. He's trying to deflect and turn the, he just did it. He just did it with Bill Clinton and Larry Summers and the president of Harvard. He's trying to say, hey, why you guys aren't talking about them? He says, it's a big nothing burger. It's very fake. But instead of going after me, why don't you go after them instead? Well, if it's a fake thing, why should we go after anybody? So he's all over the place. He's desperate. And so we all think that. And for him to say, only you would think of that, right? Like,
This is part of the rush to get this deal done to knock Jeffrey Epstein's story out.
Oh, you got to be kidding with that. No, had nothing to do with it. Only you would think that.
see, all of his people that are pissed about this,
That had nothing to do with it.
all the people who are pissed at this, all the Epstein people out there, they're all thinking it. And, they get pissed off when they hear shit like that. Like, him being dismissive of their worldview and their belief. This guy just can't fucking shut up. Like, he's worse than Alex Jones, right? He's worse than Alec Baldwin. Okay, one more thing about the fish boy dumb fuckathon here with the stuff to do with Gaza. I think I'll wait on I guess I'll play the Barbara Walters thing because it's short. And I got some report about some of these, some of these right-wing podcasters. But, I was just walking with my wife, and I meant to say this in the video. We were talking about this, and when it came up earlier, but I forgot. When he said that Bill Clinton's been to the island like 25 times or whatever it is, if you haven't read the files and you're not curious about it, like, how do you know he went there 25 times? Like, if the stuff about you is not true, which, of course, some of it is, and all of it, because you were best buds with Jeffrey Epstein. You guys were perv bros. If that stuff's not true, then why would you believe just the stuff about Bill Clinton and the Democrats is, right? Like, he's so fucking pathetic and childish in his lies. And the fact that this fucking dumb fucks believed him for so long, and now they're like realizing what an asshole he is. Not just in terms of what he did here, but what an asshole he is. So Trump did come out and say that the starvation in Gaza is real, but, in a totally fucking shitty way. And then he got back into it, this stupid shit that he says.
What's going to happen afterwards. We want to get the children fed. We made a contribution a week ago of $60 million, all going into food.
You've given $3 billion a year to Israel, so they could beat the shit out of Palestine and all these other countries in the region. But all you can kick in is $60 million for fucking starving kids.
We hope the food goes to the people that need it, because so much, as you know, when you do something there, it gets taken by Hamas or somebody.
Okay, that's not the point. Why don't you make sure that Israel allows you to distribute the food the way it should be, instead of locking us the fuck out. All you have to do is cut off their money and say, fuck you, we're running things now. You're going to do what we want you to do, or we're going to fucking leave you fucking broke and without a big brother to stand up for you.
But it gets taken. And we're prepared to help. We want to help. It's a terrible situation. The whole thing is terrible. It's been bad for many years. But it's great to hear you feel the same way that I do. We have to help on a humanitarian basis before we do anything. We have to get the kids fed. So we've been sending in a lot of food. A lot of the food that's been going there has been sent by the United States. I spoke yesterday with the president of the European Union.
Okay, this isn't what I want to show. Let me show you the other one here.
Israel has a lot of responsibility. They're hampered by the fact that you still have 20 hostages or so.
No, they're not hampered at all. This is another dumb fuck thing. I watched a bunch of shit. Now, not all of it was this bad, but all of it was bad. Like, he has fucking lost it. His brain is fucking fried. He's entering into Joe Biden territory. He's, I think, 1 year now behind where Joe Biden was when he finally fell apart. Of course, Joe Biden had Parkinson's and fucking scrotum cancer, prostate cancer. But, Israel is not hampered by the hostages. They could still feed kids. Israel has military superiority. They have air superiority, water superiority, because the Gaza Strip and the Palestinian people don't have an air force, an army, or a navy. Israel owns everything in there. They have the place completely, under their thumb, and they could feed the kids. And they're doing things so that people don't have electricity, water, food, because they're trying to, get rid of the people. Like Trump said, they're so unlucky. They're just so unlucky, right? Remember he said that? And so he keeps on coming back to this fucking bullshit hostage thing.
And the people of Israel are very concerned about the 20 hostages. It's very interesting.
The rest of the world's concerned about the starving kids and the 20,000 kids that died and the 100,000, 25, 30,000 kids that died and the 100,000 people that were killed, Palestinian people. Like, why are they so worth less than fucking some hostages that were taken by an Israeli asset in Hamas? I mean, it's just so fucking just disgraceful, right?
You could say they could be more concerned about retribution than the 20 hostages, but they really want the 20 hostages to survive and live to make it. Many of the hostages came to my office and
you're going to tell this bullshit fucking story again?
The Oval Office. And I was amazed I would ask them the question, was there any sign of love? Was there any sign of, when you were a hostage and you have all of these people from Hamas.
Like, he doesn't know what a fucking tool he is when he says this bullshit story.
Around you, sometimes 100, sometimes 10, sometimes 2. But you're a hostage and you're being stored in a pipe. It's not even really, a cave, or it's a pipe.
You're in a pipe, not a cave or nothing like that. You're in a fucking pipe.
A little pipe. And some said they didn't think they were going to make it because they were losing air. There wasn't enough air, and they'd open up the pipe just in time, but they didn't do it on purpose. They just happened to open it. They got lucky.
We need to get the hostages out. They've been held for a very...
He just tells this bullfucking shit story. Like, he just tells this bullshit story. It went on from there, and it gets, he just goes into that whole thing. They cut some of it off, which I don't know why they would do it, right? But he's backing Trump on this bullshit hostage thing. They're starving people on purpose. It's an ethnic cleansing genocide. They want the fucking country. It's a land grab. Everybody fucking knows it that has a fucking half a brain and some fucking pulse and critical thinking skills. I mean, it's a land grab, right? And it's this motherfucker, right? I mean, he just can't, it's just so clueless.
He is rebuking the base, almost like spitting in their face. Like, they are asking for it. He campaigned on it. He puts Bongino and Cash in there, which might be the stupidest thing in the history of the world. Like, why would you put the two guys that have nonstop pounded the pavement talking about how we're going to expose this Epstein thing, and the second they get in there, you better shut the up.
Yeah, to shut him up.
Go on Rogan, lie. It is a very peculiar thing. It worked in that I think it moved any of the smoke off of Trump, because at least for me, I was like, there's no way that he's involved if he's putting Bongino and Cash in, who have campaigned on exposing it. Like, why would you hire those guys or appoint those guys, right? So I'm like, he can't be. But the fact that he will not touch this, and then this last week, him doing the distractions,
bro,
dropping the MLK file. Like, who asked for the MLK file? The second he started talking about Obama, I was like, oh, he's guilty.
Yeah.
Why are you talking about Obama and treason? You got a guy who has sex with teenagers that you are protecting.
The Epstein stuff is so crazy because when Kash Patel was on here and he was like, there's no...
So this is a Morning Joe thing.
Oh, there's nothing. And I was like, what are you talking?
Yeah.
I didn't even know what to say. My thought was, and people are like, why didn't you push back more? My thought was I'm just going to put this out there and let the internet do its work, because there's nothing I can... The guy's saying there's no tapes, there's no video. That doesn't make any sense. Everyone knows it doesn't make any sense. The whole thing was nuts. And then he's like, well, we have a film. We're going to release that film. And the film has a minute missing from it.
Yeah.
Do you think we're babies? What is this?
The backstory, of course, FBI Director Kash Patel, who was on Rogan's show last month, promising to release everything that the administration could. But Patel has since faced blowback from Trump supporters after the...
this is something where they knew they were going to have to say fuck you to the Epstein people, because Trump is guilty as fuck. Trump knew the guy for 20 years and they were best friends, and the Epstein relationship was more about Trump than any other motherfucker. Even more than Prince Andrew. Trump is, like I said, the big fucking fish. He's the whale. And now so even more. And so at least Trump knew there was going to be a big fuck you to the Epstein people. And all these people who fucking made their whole career on talking about Epstein, and they were generating... I mean, look at this guy. this guy, let's say he gets fired or, whatever happens, disgraced, maybe even jail time, who the fuck knows, because he's working with Trump, and Trump fucking shits him out, like he does with people, throws them under the bus. And he goes back to his podcast and everyone's going to be like, fuck you, we're never going to believe you again. You let us down. I mean, he's lost his brand, his damage, his credibility. All these guys, Bongino, all those motherfuckers, right? And, Trump knew there was going to be a big fuck you. And the fuck you was going to have to be, we're not going to give you any information. And, it's over. Like, it's just over. And we're just going to talk about shit and I'll do distracting. I mean, Trump couldn't handle this any worse. And he went on Larry King in my video that hasn't come out yet and talked about how Clinton couldn't have done the scandal any worse. And here's Trump. When you watch that video, you'll know what I'm talking about. Up until that point and even now more. It's so fucked, right? Like, he just keeps on pissing everybody off. And like, at least, all right, your plan was we're not going to release shit. Then don't fucking incriminate yourself by going out and doing stupid shit that anybody with half a brain can see through. Stop fucking talking, bro. Just come up with some fucking talking points. See, this is where Trump trying to be like a regular person and be authentic grifter and liar, but he doesn't want to be a guy who just recites talking points, although he creates his own talking points and recites them. It's just he does it in a different way. But holy shit, bro, just stop fucking doing it. Like, you're just burying yourself. I mean, I don't want him to stop. I like covering it. It's wonderful. It's like, it's apocalyptic shit. Well, the new book is about surviving at the top. This is brutal stuff with Barbara Walters.
Entitled Surviving at the... Well, the new book is entitled Surviving at the Top. There are many people who would say failing at the top.
I hope the general public understands how inherently dishonest the press in this country is.
As a member of the press, let me try to clear up some of the things which you say are untrue.
See, he went bankrupt, like fucking badly. And 6 times. 6 bankruptcies, 6 multiple failures. And, he was already slamming the press. And the press was not nearly as bad back then. And the press fucking loved him. Donald Trump was their golden boy. David Letterman loved him. I mean, they were all, why do you think he got a show, right? Like, why do you think he got all this love? Best-selling books, interviews with Barbara Walters, hung out with Oprah. Oprah Winfrey loved him. The View ladies love him, right? All those old videos. And he was still hammering the press back then and he was getting nothing but 100% love, right?
You write in your book, my bankers and I worked out a terrific deal that allows me to come out stronger than ever. I see the deal as a great victory, and eventually the rest of the world will too. Being on the verge of bankruptcy, being bailed out by the banks,
well, you don't have to say on the
skating on thin ice and almost drowning, that's a businessman to be admired.
You say on the verge of bankruptcy, Barbara, and you talk on the verge, and you listen to what people are saying.
I talk to your bankers.
Well, that's fine. And what do they say? I mean, depending on which banker you're talking to, what do they say? I'm the only one people write about. I mean, they don't write about other people.
You have a little more debt than most people. You're something like $3 billion in debt.
You also have a little more assets than most people.
Okay.
He was $3 billion in debt. And he wasn't a real billionaire. Remember, recently he sued some guy, well after this interview. So this is before he ran for president, but like right before he ran for president. Somebody wrote an article saying that he was only worth like fucking 400, 500 million only, But for Trump was always wanted to be a billionaire and always talked to himself as being a billionaire. And the guy said he only had $4 or $5 million, which again, not only, but that was what he had, right? And Trump went ballistic and sued the guy and lost because Trump couldn't prove he was a billionaire because the guy had done all this research into what Trump was worth. And so, Trump didn't make it into the billionaire club, really. I mean, he was in and out of it, and he went bankrupt, but some of those things are faulty assets where they loaned him. If they loan you billions of dollars, that doesn't mean you're a billionaire, right? And so when he became president, he monetized his presidency. He made his True Social is worth $2 billion. He's made another $3 billion on crypto that he was, gifted in bribes from the crypto industry, right, in the tech industry. But this is when he's really getting rich, is when he's president. Getting fucking gifted what's going to be $1 billion plane Shit like that, right?
You have debts to pay back.
Right.
You have huge loans to pay back. You say the country is in a depression. What makes you think that you can pay back those loans?
1990, the country was not in depression. It was when the internet boom was happening. I mean, this was there's a couple of there was the internet bubble, but this is before the internet bubble. And we know what happened with the internet and the computer age and all that shit. And the cell phone boom and all this technological booms, these big businesses. And Trump saying we're bankrupt. It was a giant economic time, and Trump is fucking, looking for his, I don't know what number this was, his bankruptcy. But he went bankrupt 6 fucking times, right?
And further, what your bankers have told us is that the only way you even have a chance is by selling that property out there totally, the plaza.
Well, I don't know what the bankers have said. The plaza is a very valuable property. Everybody told me, oh, you paid too much, you paid too much. Now they're all saying what a great deal he made on the plaza.
No, they're not. No, she's just calling bullshit left and right. This is back when Trump was loved. I'll find out when the Celebrity Apprentice was. But, he got The Apprentice, and that what saved him. Okay, so he wasn't The Apprentice then, right? He got The Apprentice in the 2000s.
Yourself said that you saw your children maybe once a week. You're having a lot of difficulties with your 12-year-old son, Donnie. You haven't talked to him.
So, Donnie was on The Apprentice, right? So, think about Donnie Trump now. But back then, he wasn't, having a relationship with his kids.
You yourself said that you saw your children maybe once a week. You're having a lot of difficulties with your 12-year-old son, Donnie. You haven't talked to him since May. Do you believe in fidelity in marriage?
Yes, absolutely, I do.
He cheated on all 3 of his wives.
In the current issue of Vanity Fair, the author Marie Brenner says that you read from Hitler's collected speeches, My New Order, and that these are speeches that you seem to admire. What's your reaction? Do you have this book?
A friend of mine sent me a book. A man who I think is Jewish, although I don't know.
Fuck. He's always been a grifter and a bullshitter. He was sharper back then. But all these videos are surfacing, and they're so damaging. I mean, the guy was always this guy. I knew who he was. Everybody knew who he was, kind of. And then, the right-wing Republicans didn't like him. And they didn't watch The Apprentice. It was a Democratic liberal show. It was New York City business people. I mean, some New York business Republicans maybe, but not people who are cubies, not these evangelicals. They didn't watch that fucking decadent show with him. And it was when he became a politician, he started to say things that they liked, and he was an outsider. They got duped. But, he's been this guy the whole time. So in 2004, Trump started The Apprentice. This interview was in 1990. And Trump, by all these accounts, was broke, and his offices were disarray. The place was a mess, broken chairs, moldy carpet, all this kind of thing. He was a mess, economically. But The Apprentice saved him. If he didn't get The Apprentice, he wouldn't be in the White House right now. He might be in the fucking poorhouse. He had gone bankrupt so many times, and he was falling apart. It was all smoke and mirrors. And he got The Apprentice, and he made money off of that. He made money off of the, those things that they did, those challenges they did, the product placement stuff. And he built his brand back up. And then, now he's president. It was like divine intervention to bring this dopey horseman of the apocalypse in to take down the world. Anyways, here's the story about the rest of my story about the tooth issue. Okay, so this is the rest of the dentist story. I felt like a heartbeat in my right front tooth, and my lower tooth was hitting that tooth at the same time. And I woke up and I thought that maybe something happened in the night where I did something that hit that tooth pretty hard with my bottom teeth. My bottom teeth are, my normal bite doesn't hit the tooth, but all of a sudden I started doing that a lot. And the tooth was a little bit sore. And over a few days, I felt a heartbeat in my tooth. Weird thing. If I exercised or got my heart rate up, I'd feel a pulsation in the tooth. And so I had a dentist appointment. I don't know if I had scheduled that before. I think I scheduled that before all this stuff started to happen. And I don't trust my dentist for a variety of reasons. He's, my whole family has had lots of dental work, and it just all can't be necessary. It's there's a high turnover rate there, and they do a lot of x-rays. And, I've told the story quite a bit. I watched this thing called the Naked Tooth. I think it was called a documentary called The Naked Tooth or the something tooth. And they took like infrared, ultraviolet camera, and they showed if you brush a tooth that has a metal filling in it, that it starts to vaporize. The vapor comes off the tooth. And it talks about how metal fillings, which are, filled with mercury and other things, are really bad for you. It was a whole documentary. So this is probably like 7-8 years ago. And I made a video about it. And I looked at my teeth, and I saw that my mouth was full of metal. And that when I was a kid, a dentist had filled every molar that I have and pretty much all of my teeth but my front ones. The whole center was filled with metal fillings, right? So he took out huge chunks of my teeth and filled it with metal fillings. And I realized that I didn't need those fillings. Like I had good teeth. There's no way I needed all those fillings, right? The guy was just scamming my family. And I remembered when I was 25 or so, my parents made a dentist appointment for me. I was in my 20s. Like I hadn't gone to the dentist in years. Probably 22 maybe. 20, I was in college. My sister worked at a dentist and she could get a discount. So my parents must have thought it'd be a good idea for me to go to the dentist. I wasn't concerned about it. And I went to this dentist and she said to me, look, you have really good teeth. If somebody tries to give you a cavity, tries to fill a cavity, get a second opinion. Just floss every other day and brush your teeth and you shouldn't have any problems. And so I had that memory, like back, so I remembered that time and she was trying to warn me because she must have seen pretty much at least my parents and my sister's teeth, if not other members of my family, and seen that the dentist had filled our mouth full of metal. We all had the same fillings. She didn't say that, but she was clearly alluding to, I'd only been to one other dentist, and that's clearly what happened. And so as I learned about having metal in my mouth and eventually got rid of all of it, many dentists will acknowledge that metal fillings are a nightmare, and they don't do them because they have better technology now, but they also take them out. Even my dentist, who was very pro-vax and pro-mainstream medical stuff, there's a couple dentists there, but they're all that way. They kind of acknowledge that metal fillings aren't good. And over the past 4 years, I've, got most of them out. But I'm aware of this for-profit dentistry, right? And that scumbags like that dentist I had when I was a kid filled my mouth with toxic fucking material just to line his fucking bank account. And that's caused problems for me now and probably into the future. And I have now mercury in my system and things that I got to fucking get out. All the things that, you guys who know about alternative health know about. So that's a fucking nightmare. And so that with the idea of reading the ingredients, which I talk about how you now have to read the ingredients, I'm going to the dental appointment and I'm going for a cleaning and I have this problem. And if I tell him my tooth had pulsated because it got better, it wasn't bothering me. And so I thought it was better. And if I tell him this, right, and so I looked it up and it said one of the things, it could be an abscess. It said it could be numerous things. But ChatGTP said it isn't that it's pulsating, it's that it's throbbing. But that wasn't the case because for me, it was when my heartbeat elevated and it was like I could feel my heartbeat in my tooth, right? And so reverberated in my tooth. So, I was hesitant to talk to the dentist about it, and they did some x-rays and they didn't find anything. But they didn't, I don't know if they x-rayed my front of my teeth. Like I thought they might have, but I guess they didn't. And so, and even if he had, he x-rayed it today, and it was kind of, with only me telling him there was an issue there, which I'll get into, I'll tell the story in a bit. So I didn't want to tell him because I knew he'd be immediately like root canal, and then I'd have a fucking problem. And they're very aggressive, and they're not really open to, they're kind of argumentative, like they're obviously know more, but they don't know more, right? Because their model is faulty. Their model is, like with doctors. Doctors know more about their model of medicine than you do, but they don't know about alternative medicine. And so they're experts in their field, and they have certain treatments, and they're pretty, aggressive about getting those treatments. They come in with a hard sell. So, and I talked about my bite and hitting the tooth, and he said, I mentioned the tooth then, and he said, that's what's happened, that your teeth have moved, and you need Invisalign. He's like, you need it without really doing much, just peering the information, because he wants to sell me Invisalign. And, I noticed that there's high turnover at the staff. And while I was there, I could hear all these people, some of them older people, and people on the phone, like I was right next to the receptionist, and all these people are talking about not being able to pay their dental bill. I mean, everybody that walked through there, and some of the phone calls, and the woman who was answering the phone was, trying to say, oh, well, you can do it in installments. And there was a well-dressed woman, a younger woman, who looked like she was, kind of much better dressed than I was. And she went out to a fancy car, right? She left when I did, but she was checking out right before I did. And she couldn't pay her bill. And she had some big fancy car, this fancy fucking SUV thing. I don't know. So, I'm sitting there going, these guys are fucking milking everybody dry here, right? And and I'm suspicious just in general. So my wife and I went on vacation, and the tooth got kind of throbbed a lot, and now I'm worried. And I called some local dentist, but they couldn't get in to see anybody. So I called my dentist, and he prescribed some penicillin, but then it got better. It's the throbbing went away. And so I don't know, and my tooth was definitely hitting, my bottom tooth was hitting my top tooth, so I didn't know if that was causing the issue. And, there's just some things there, right? And so I have an appointment with my dentist today, and then I found this other dentist, and I wanted to check both of them out in terms of Invisalign. For your younger people, this is what's waiting for you. You just, whatever you're doing now, I take better care of your teeth, these kind of things. I took pretty good care of my teeth, but, now I have this Sonicare toothbrush. And, I've been trying to get so that I don't need to go to the dentist, because I had these deep cleaning things that they would do. And then, the gum wouldn't heal correctly. And then I had to go back and get it done. And they have to fucking give you Novocaine because they go in deep. It's just a whole nightmare. So we never picked the prescription up when we were traveling, but it was at a CVS, and my wife moved the prescription to a local place. And it was there, sitting there waiting for us. And I realized that there was now a sore where on the tooth, there had not been a place where you would consider it an abscess. An abscess usually has, some kind of, an expression like a blister or something. And it hadn't been that. That was the reason I had felt like there wasn't an abscess. So that's 2 days ago. Now I'm like, oh, fuck, it is an abscess, right? And so I went to the dentist today, and I asked the dental assistant to check it out, and she didn't see anything. She had the dentist. He said there's a little pimple there, and so he wanted to take some x-rays of the tooth. And I said, because it's my right front tooth, so that's going to change the way I talk. It's not going to, it's going to affect my job if I have to lose that tooth. When I'm getting a post tooth, and I don't want to get a root canal. So I say to the guy, what are the options? He said, well, if you're not going to lose the tooth, you probably just get a root canal. And I'm like, fuck, I don't want to do that. And I knew it would be like a thing. And so I'm not in pain either. I'm just, like I said, the symptoms I have is it's very tender, especially higher up in my gum line, right above my tooth. And then it's in between two teeth, and right under my nose a little bit. It's tender there if I push there. And the vibration in my tooth, I just want to walk with my wife, my heart beats up, and the tooth isn't throbbing right now. So it's inconsistent throbbing, and this thing. So he takes an x-ray. He's like, well, I kind of think you have an abscess, but I'm not sure. And he's like, I want you to do a full scan. I'm like, fuck, more x-rays. Because that's part of the thing. I'm getting x-rayed way too much. They wanted me to come in every 4 months and, do all this fucking x-ray after x-ray. And I was like, they're not flexible about it, right? So, my idea, and again, this is my thing, not anybody else's. This is, I'm not giving medical advice here. But for me, my opinion about the thing is, the more that I go to a doctor, the more that I think people go to a doctor, the more shit they find and the more medications they give you, and then the more problems you have. You know, it's like, I mean, I'm not saying people should not go to the doctor. I'm not giving advice, but that's kind of my policy. And, you know, I'm 61 and I haven't had any major thing. You know, the worst thing I had was COVID, mono as a kid, you know, a few other basketball-related sports injuries and things, and mostly, you know, pretty good health with, you know, some migraines and some other things. You know, it would not, you know, nothing severe. And so it's worked for me. And when I've had medical interventions, it's always led to further problems. And so, I do the full scan, and I say to the guy, because now I'm realizing I'm going to get he wants to do an Invisalign. He was very quick to do the Invisalign. And I have an appointment with this other dentist to do the Invisalign. And I'm like, if they're going to do a scan to do the Invisalign, that means that I'm going to get 2 scans for that, one here and one at the new dentist. And I'm pretty sure I'm switching over just based on all this stuff. Now I know I am. But at that moment, I say to him, let's skip the Invisalign. He's like, yeah, let's just take care of this tooth. So they do this scan where the x-ray thing goes around your whole head. And he says you'll be able to pick up other little infections and things. And he says it's a little bit odd. He says, you know, I have a small cavity, but that wouldn't cause the abscess. It shouldn't have. And, you know, a cavity they hadn't detected, which is weird for that place because I mean, I just got this cavity filled today, and it took them 2 minutes. Like, it was so tiny. And, you know, this other dentist, like this woman my wife was talking to that recommended this dentist said, you know, the guy's very hesitant to do anything. He said, let's, you know, we don't have to fill this right away. Because they told me that I had this cavity, and I found the cavity. I could see it in the mirror. And I was using this hypoxatrate stuff, and, you know, that's supposed to build teeth back. And I watched the cavity, and it wasn't getting any worse. It might have even getting a little bit better. Eventually, I had to go in. They wanted to fill it. I just let them fucking fill it because I couldn't deal with the fucking bullshit. But, you know, and I knew that it wasn't getting better enough or quick enough. And I figured that they would have to get rid of some of the rot in the tooth, you know, that the hypoxatrate wasn't, and whatever it is, right? This nano hypoxatrate is stuff that is supposed to, you know, help the toothpaste is 99% of what your tooth is made out of. So your teeth can supposedly absorb it. They've been used in Japan and things. And I've been doing well with the Sonicare high-end toothbrush. So I was really doing well with this stuff. So anyways, you know, trying to do as much so I wouldn't have to get dental interventions. And he says it's a weird scan. He says that the abscess appears to be between the 2 teeth. He asked me if I had injured my tooth because he thinks the nerve is dead. But then when I got home, I was telling my wife, and she said, well, if your tooth is throbbing, don't you think that you would need a nerve to feel that? And I'm like, yeah, you know, my tooth is sensitive. It's also sensitive to cold, I think. And so I don't think the nerve is dead or whatever. And, you know, he was hesitant, and he, you know, didn't know for sure what was going on, so he wanted to send me to a specialist. And I said, well, what would the specialist find out that would change things? He goes, well, instead of a root canal, the tooth would have to be extracted if there's some other issue. And I said, all right, whatever. But it isn't a clear abscess. And, you know, I mean, this guy's so gung-ho and whatever. And I have a couple days before I go to see this other dentist. And anybody who has any information, I'm going to be doing research the next couple of days. And, you know, trying to figure out a game plan for it. And I'm finally taking the antibiotics. I did some oregano oil, which I won't get into, which seemed to help it a lot. And so, and I don't know, like, so that's my story. And, you know, I mean, if a root canal is out of the question, what are my other options? So anybody has any information about what I just said, you know, please leave a detailed comment or any number of things. Send me a message on whatever. You have links or anything. And I'll take all that stuff into consideration. Only spirituality will save this world. It's paramount, definitely important from the apocalypse. And the ascension, everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.